If you find yourself seeking the approval of the opposite gender a lot, either in person or through social media like dating apps, stay tuned. In this video, I'll explain where this comes from and how to overcome it. When people seek validation from the opposite gender excessively, or their own gender if that's their sexual preference, they might spend a lot of time on social media trying to get responses. They might hyper-focus on their looks and appearance before meeting someone. They might act like a chameleon, adapting their opinions to whomever they're interacting with. They might align their priorities and choices not with what they want, but with whatever they think will meet the most approval. They might people-please excessively with the motive to get validation. They might flirt excessively, show off, initiate contact all the time, compliment others, or they could become very shy and silent. The purpose of all of these behaviors is to get an answer to an underlying question, doubt, insecurity. Am I attractive, desirable, lovable? Partly it's human to have that question. We all need connection and want to feel worthy of it. It's human to feel something when you get validated or rejected. At the same time, if you find yourself depending on it excessively, then something happened when your psyche developed in your childhood that created this extreme inner tension, longing for and dependence on external validation. And if it's tied to a specific gender, then you've internalized specific doubts and insecurities about how you're received by that gender. This is very important to open yourself up to. You were not born with this extreme craving for validation from a specific gender. It's not part of your personality. It's a coping mechanism you learned to adopt in response to how your caregivers interacted with you. And with some inner work, you can let go of this and feel secure in your attractiveness. Common childhood experiences that lead to this dependence on approval and validation from a specific gender are rejection, abandonment, shaming, and excessive criticism, and also things that didn't happen, like not receiving validation and approval from your primary caregivers. Who we are develops in resonance with others. When we're very young, we look to others to understand all kinds of things, also who we are. We develop the sense of self-worth that is mirrored back to us by our primary caregivers. The backstory to problematic childhood experiences that create an excessive dependency on external validation can be neglect and abuse, but it can also be genuinely well-intentioned parents that didn't know enough about parenting. Some parents, for example, intentionally don't validate their children because they think that'll make them arrogant. They want to keep their kids humble and down to earth, and they think they're doing their kids a favor by reminding them of their weaknesses or being skeptical when their child has a what they think too positive image of themselves. And without realizing, they're thwarting the development of a healthy sense of self-worth in their child, and instead, the child develops a lot of shame about who they are. Or the child may have gotten validation from their parents, but parents also taught, indirectly modeled, the belief that external validation from someone outside of the family or a specific gender is more important than what we think of ourselves within the family. If a child repeatedly experiences a lack of healthy validation and approval from its caregivers, it will walk around life with an unanswered question. Am I valuable? Am I desirable? Lovable? Interesting? Attractive? And it'll develop patterns that can be excessive to try to get this question and doubt answered. Approval seeking becomes this child's refuge from shame and insecurity. And then this child grows up into a teenager and young adult and middle-aged adult and so on, and continues in this pattern. This is mostly unconscious. And if your longing for approval is tied to specific gender, then your unmet childhood need was also tied to that gender in your parents or someone else who was very important to you. Something happened or didn't happen, that created this insecurity in you about being appreciated by this gender. Maybe you didn't get validation from the parent of this gender. Maybe you were rejected by someone of this gender. Maybe you didn't have much contact with this gender. Maybe someone kept repeating that you would never be attractive to this gender, and so on. Of course, this has all sorts of negative consequences. You may be straining relationships by seeking reassurance excessively, and your original feelings of shame and your insecurities don't get resolved because when we tie our sense of self-worth to something external, something that we can't control to 100%, there will always be reasons for it to be destabilized. And what someone else thinks of us, their approval, is something we can only influence to a certain degree. In the end, after we've given our best, and our best is not perfect but good enough, what others think of us is mostly an expression of their inner world, not ours. If you seek validation and approval a lot, in person or with apps, the first step to changing this is a deep dive into your inner world. It may be uncomfortable to look at what's there, but without bringing it into the light of your awareness, you won't be able to change in a lasting way. What are your doubts and fears about your worth, attractiveness, and lovability? How has your sense of your worth been tied to external validation? What do you believe makes you valuable? Do these beliefs help you build a stable sense of self-worth? If not, work on exchanging them with helpful beliefs like, I'm enough, I'm lovable, I'm valuable no matter what this person thinks of me. I'm attractive even if I'm not attractive to everyone. I can influence and increase my attractiveness to a specific gender by aligning my actions with my values. If someone doesn't like me, that doesn't take away from my inherent value. I'm valuable, attractive, and lovable, even if someone doesn't acknowledge me or approve of me. You might want to remind yourself of these beliefs repeatedly for a while to help them sink in. And align your thought process to these beliefs and the way and tone in which you speak to yourself and about yourself. Let the way you see yourself be infused by these beliefs. And although this isn't the purpose of internalizing these beliefs, as a side effect, many people find these beliefs in others very attractive. Next, it can help to look at typical situations in which you feel this need for validation specifically intensely. What are they? And what's going on? What happened before you felt that way? Which thoughts did that awaken in you? Which emotions did you feel? What can you change about the situation or the way you process it, or both, so that they don't leave you feeling insecure? And this might seem counterintuitive when you're working on becoming less dependent on external validation, but you might want to try paying more attention to moments of being valued and connected to others throughout your day. Often when someone doesn't feel valued enough by others, they're closed off to these moments when they are being valued. And if you can learn to be more present in these moments, you can better meet your natural need for connection, validation, approval, belonging. You can also think about taking a break from your dysfunctional coping strategies, like the ones that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, all the ways in which you try to find approval, reassurance, and validation that don't align with your values and cause problems. This might mean restricting the time you spend on social media or dating apps, or being more authentic in interactions and choices. Also, in connection to apps, if you're male and frustrated with dating apps, that happens to many men. Most dating apps have a proportionately larger group of men using them. Added to that, women are more selective in whose profiles they engage with. So, if you're frustrated about not getting seen by women on these apps, or not getting the recognition you would hope for, that's just a result of the math, and in any case, never an expression of your inherent fundamental value. In closing, I'd like to encourage you to observe yourself more. Most change doesn't happen all at once, but step by step. And if you can start observing yourself and notice when you're reaching for approval in ways you don't want to anymore, then you can gain awareness of what that reach for external validation feels like inside. The more you can become aware of this feeling, the better you'll be able to notice it and then disidentify from it and shift into an awareness and conviction of your inherent value. Be gentle with yourself. Till next time, take care. And remember, your worth is not created by and not dependent on external validation.